First fucking week. I'm Meredith.
I'm Elyse. And this is your 20s.
Hello, everyone. I actually really liked that. That was very soothing.
Okay, do the waves before we start recording.
Okay. This is the ocean wave.
I am literally at the beach right now.
Imagine it. You got a margarita in your hand. You're lounging. You got a beach chair. You feel the bronze on your skin.
The bronze?
The sun turning you bronze.
It's relaxing.
And transport and hello.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Isn't it crazy how ASMR took over for like so long?
Oh, it's still a thing, isn't it?
It's still a
probably
thing.
not as big, but it's still a thing.
Did I tell you about the girl I went to high school with?
Yeah, you showed me her videos. Try again.
ASMR star on YouTube.
Isn't she like a sexy ASMR
Yeah,
star?
sexy. I mean, that gets the views.
She speaks porn language.
I don't know. I haven't watched her videos like that, but I think it's kind of the route she went with it, with ASMR. And I think she does really well, and I think she gets paid a lot of money, so...
Maybe I should
Props.
do that.
Props. Yeah, maybe we should...
just explore all our options.
Fuck this
while we're
podcast.
here. No. No.
Just kidding. This is our baby.
This is our baby.
My name is Elyse.
Hi, I'm Meredith.
And this is your motherfucking 20s.
Yeah, baby. Welcome
And
back.
We are talking about kind of a lighter topic today because our past episodes I feel like have been kind of deep. Which is good and valid and important to have.
Yes.
But this one, we are talking about binge drinking and substance abuse.
Okay, that's actually not like a very light topic.
It's not.
But like I think the approach that we're taking it is from seeing it from a college standpoint specifically, and so it's a little lighter in the sense that I think a lot of people are exposed to it or deal with it in some way, that it's not like it maybe doesn't take over their entire lives, but it's verging on the edge of dangerous for some, of course. But
and you just see a lot in college.
You see so much weird shit. It's an interesting time. It's like going to the zoo, but living in the zoo at the same time.
Literally.
I have to
see a
burp.
lot.
Can I burp in here?
Probably. We're all about real.
I think it went away.
Oh.
Well, if it comes back, I'll let it loose.
Okay. Anyway, where do we even start? We usually have like a Google Doc where we have like questions and we just have ideas, and this one we're literally just kind of going for it.
Yeah,
seeing where it takes us.
And we thought it's just us two today, so we don't have a guest. So we figured let's see where the organic conversation, because most of the time we make a doc with questions. It's when we have guests on and we want to kind of sort of debrief them before they get on here and then have a little bit more structure to the episode. But this is definitely going to be more of a like stream of consciousness type of thing, which I think is fun. I'm excited about because you just never know what the fuck you're going to get. But here we go, baby.
Hey,
yeah.
Oh,
Here we are.
Baby.
We're talking about binge drinking.
Binge drinking.
Talking about drugs.
Ooh.
Alcohol. What kind is your favorite?
Ooh.
We'll find out today.
Ooh.
Hey. That was so
Okay, yeah.
good. I love that for us.
Mary and I will just burst out into song. And half the time they're really good, and the other half it's like really just disturbing.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
We'll find out.
what are they doing? Who are they and what are they doing? Anyway, what is your drink of choice, Meredith?
So where are we going with this? Ooh, that's a good one.
Because we're not gonna sit here and
Pretend like we don't
pretend
drink.
like we haven't ever tasted the alcohols.
Please.
Or smoked the marijuana. But so we have our favorites.
Where are we? Okay. I would say my favorite. So it depends on like the situation. So I'm going to go into different contexts here. When I'm hanging out like at home with my family and it's like a holiday and we're just trying to get a little drunk, bop around the Christmas tree for a little, I would say I would go for like just this is going to sound so basic, but like a cidery type beer. Like
Okay.
I'm not like a beer like I couldn't just drink like a Bud Light for fun. Yum. But I can drink like, I don't know, a sort of cider. So there's one from Cincinnati that I really like, which is called Rheingeist Bubbles. It's like a rosé cider. I don't know. It's good. So that's like when
you
I'm
do like that.
Yeah, that's like when I'm like with my fam hanging out. If I'm out at dinner, then I'll have like a nice glass of Pinot Grigio or Prosecco, depending on
Wow, you know names and all.
Yeah.
22-year-old.
Yeah, bitch. Depending on the circumstance. That's not correct. Depending on the level of like formality. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. But then if I'm out like drinking with my friends, like at a bar, I would do like a vodka soda with lime or a vodka cranberry.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you?
I really like
Or
wine.
tequila.
No.
Sorry.
I mean, for some nights, yeah, like
Yeah.
fun,
I'm feeling a little
crazy
wild.
nights, yeah. But I think I really like wine. I used to hate wine and beer. I still don't like beer, but I like wine. I like Riesling. That's my new favorite white wine. Have you ever had it?
No.
Oh, it is so good. It tastes like
where is that from? Walmart?
probably.
I'm exposing you right now. It's the $5 bottle of wine that you bought the other night, right?
Yeah, that was it. This is going really boring.
She likes the finer things in life.
No, I like Riesling. That's what I like. But I also, I feel like in
I
college.
like Franzia. Franzia is my wine of choice.
I like the box wine.
I have a funny story after you share the
Okay.
rest. Sorry, I keep
But I was just going to
interrupting you.
say, I feel like in college, you just get really shitty, cheap vodka, especially like your first year. So, like, you're just prone to drink vodka.
Yeah. That's how
So
I gained all my weight.
Yeah, I just don't really like vodka anymore, I guess. I'm kind of over that. So I'm drinking wine like a classy bitch now. And I know names like Riesling and Pinot Grigio.
Pinot Grigio is a type of wine. It's
Yeah.
not like a name brand.
know.
Whereas Riesling is like
Riesling
the
is
name of a wine vineyard, right?
No, Riesling is a type of wine.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Riesling is a white. I'm 100%.
You sound like Michael Scott from The Office who goes on the wine tasting and do you know what I'm talking about? And he like smells it and then stirs it around and says, "It's a white." You know, and they're supposed to
Okay.
describe it as like it's oaky, it's
Yeah.
cinnamony, it's, you know,
You can-
florally, whatever.
You can like see that as
Yeah,
a white.
right. It's a white.
That's so
So I have a funny story. So my sister, I remember when I guess I was, I don't know how old I was in high school, but it was her freshman year of college. So she came home from her first, semester at Miami University of Ohio, and she was like really excited about the fact that she was, went to parties and drank and whatever. And so she comes home, and my mom, she wasn't 21 yet, but she's 20, and my mom, she comes home from college, is not a big deal or whatever. No, she wouldn't be 20. She'd be 18. I don't know what I'm talking about, but you get what I'm saying. So my mom's like, whatever, it's not a big deal. She can have a glass of wine in the house while I'm here. It's not,
Yeah.
So my mom was like, okay, like what type of wine do you want? Like, I'll go get you a bottle from the store. And my sister was like, I really like Franzia, which is the type of wine that we use to like slap the bag while you're at a
Yeah.
party. And my mom just started bursting out laughing because she was like, Caroline, like I'm offering you the opportunity to actually get you like a high class, nice wine that you can sip on and not feel like you have to plug your nose and chug because it's pure
Ew.
sugar. And she's like, it's
Ew.
okay. I still really like Franzia. So we literally had a box of Franzia in our fridge for like a couple of weeks, like, slowly, getting from the bag. And it was like, it was just funny. I didn't understand it then, but now I went to college and then I came back and realized how funny it was.
I think we should go back to freshman year and how we felt like being exposed to drinking culture. And like when you said slap the bag, that brought back so many bad memories.
Oh, I
because
know.
especially at DePaul, everyone knows that DePaul is a very like intense drinking school
Yeah,
because one, it's in the
definitely.
middle of nowhere.
There's nothing else to do.
Two, it's a heavy Greek life, like
Yeah.
frat parties and stuff like that. But when I saw people like chugging wine for how many seconds they could chug, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
Yeah.
I was so, and then you slap it. I'm like, and I just remember like my
Such an
first
odd
party,
weird.
because I didn't drink in high school at all.
Yeah, I didn't really either.
I didn't do anything in high school. So just coming to college and like seeing all of that. And then I would see like, okay, so at DePaul, there's also a thing like you have a handle in one hand and a 2-liter in the other, and like I would just see girls like just like you know how people have like a mixed drink and they sip on that. No,
Yeah.
people go all in. You take a pull or a shot, and then you chase it, and then you take another, and you just like back and forth, and then you hand it to someone else with these two like big hands, and it is gross. It is so gross. I'm like, why do these people need to get so fucked up?
Well, and also I remember our freshman year, especially, everyone getting sick around a certain time of the year. Like,
yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, and then you look back and everyone's like, oh, it's just that time of year, you know, like it's people are getting tired and run down. And it's like, no, it's because we all pass each other the same fucking handle. And we're all exposing each other to whatever nastiness. Ew, ugh. Yeah, thinking about it now is like the most disgusting thing ever, but it's kind of funny at the same time. But yeah, I remember I drank like very minimally in high school. I went to like a few parties here and there and drank. I was not like a normal regular partier by any means. And so when I came to college, but at the same time, my parents weren't like super strict about alcohol because I had an older sister. And so they kind of trusted me a lot. They never really like gave me a curfew, and they never really like, you know, I could have a drink in the house if I wanted to. And so I was lucky in that sense that I didn't feel the need to go absolutely batshit crazy because I had been like, you know, raised by super strict parents that didn't let me do anything, because I know that's really like a common theme. But even still, when I got to college, I guess I thought that like it was just the coolest thing in the world to be able to drink and show people how much you could drink and like pretend like it didn't faze you, and just like, I don't know. It was definitely just like this weird competition between everyone, especially freshmen who were just, it was their first taste of like craziness. And it was definitely very fun and like a whole new world, it wore off very quickly for me. By the end of my freshman year, I was like, okay, like I feel like shit. I look like shit. Yeah. Let's not do this anymore. This is terrible for my body. But
destroying our bodies. Yeah.
From the inside out.
I think we should talk about like the generational differences in drinking and like why blackout culture is a thing. Yeah. In this day and age, because it's so interesting to me that we can like as college kids get away with like completely alcoholic behavior because we're in college, right? And you like there's literally like a saying that's like you can't call it alcoholism until you're out of college. I'm like
right. That's scary. I don't like that.
But like I feel like when my mom went here, so my mom also went to DePaul, they were drinking beers. Like they weren't no one had hard alcohol like that. And now all you see is hard alcohol, right? And I feel like the tolerance for all of us has gone up because of that. Right. And I just don't know like when that changed and when blacking out became a thing. So if you don't know what blacking out is, it's where you get to the point where you're drinking where you literally don't remember anything. Yeah. And there's a thing called browning out, which means you kind of are hazy on some stuff, but like blacking out is like you just don't remember anything and you wake up somewhere, and that's scary to me.
It's so scary.
Like I think I've blacked out once, and I was like, never again. Yeah. Never again.
I think I blacked out. I remember blacking out one or two times I've blacked out more than once, that's for sure, but mostly freshman year and sophomore year. And then it got to the point where like there are certain people in my life where like, dude, like chill. Like
doing
you
it all the
really
time.
gotta stop. Like it's not, because it started affecting not just me obviously, but like I get really mean sometimes when I'm drunk. Like some girls are like really cute and just happy, flirty versions of themselves. I'm like that up until a certain point, and then I hit a limit, and I'm not super sure what exactly that is, but it like really, really triggers my anxiety, and like it causes me to be like mean and cry a lot and just like jump to worst case scenarios in my head, and it's just not like fun. It's not fun at a certain point. It's definitely fun up to a certain point, and I've had great nights where I've been super in control, but those nights where I'm out of control, it's terrible. And then the next morning, I mean, I can remember freshman year, I have one specific example where I have no idea how I got home at all. I have no idea. But
That's
I
scary.
knew where I was the night before, and I think I walked home by myself. I have the tendency to do the Irish exit where I'll just leave and not tell anyone.
Yeah, she does.
And then people are like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm in my bed. I'm at home. I decided to leave." And people are like, "Dude, you can't do that. Like, you got to tell someone."
Like, good night, love you.
Yeah, you got to say, like, "Hey, I'm out of here. I'm good. Like, I can get a ride home or I can walk home. It's all good." But so I did that. And the next day, I woke up in my bed and had absolutely no idea what I did, what I said. It was just scary. It's not fun.
Yeah, I
It's
think
not a good way to be.
the whole point of like going out and drinking and like being with friends and being social is to have fun and to remember it and to like that's like the time in your life where you're like with your friends and you have no stress and you're not worried about school and whatever and work and stuff. Why would you get to the point where you can't even enjoy it and remember it and have those memories? Like, I'm not saying I'm a perfect person, and I'm not saying I don't drink heavy, because sometimes I do, and I'm a senior in college and I'm celebrating, and I just don't see the point of blacking out every time you go out and just drinking to the point where you're on your deathbed.
Right.
And then the next day you feel like shit. Like, to me, that's not fun.
Right.
That's not fun at all.
Well, and if you're a liability too to like everyone that you're around, it's not fun. Like, you don't want to be considered someone that it's like, okay, make sure that, you know, we watch over her tonight. Like, you don't want to be that person for anyone. It's not like a cute thing to be.
Yeah.
And I think freshman year we thought it was kind of like cute and quirky and crazy. Like, oh my God, she got so fucked up, she blacked out. And then
that term is like a good term.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. It's like, oh, I got so blacked out the other night, and I'm like, you sound psycho.
Yeah.
Honestly, that
no,
sounds...
it does. Well, and I think when you say where did the shift change? So like, when did it go from being drinking beer and you know, a definitely more controlled environment? Because I can remember my mom saying the same thing. Like, we just had kegs and we drank beer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were still incidents that were not pretty, of course, but it's definitely not the same way. And I think part of that blackout culture and that tendency to start creating those habits is due to the amount of stress that college students are now under these days in comparison to, you know, decades prior. Again, not saying college wasn't hard in the 80s and the 90s. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's just very different. I mean, the amount of social pressures that you have on top of clubs that you're supposed to be a part of, and you know, you're supposed to be doing 4 internships and resume building, and you can never just kind of like be content and breathe and where you're at in college. It's this constant like go grow. You have to keep growing, you have to keep changing. I think that mindset is good until it gets to the point where you have no other outlet, where you're racing for the weekend, and the weekend you just get blackout drunk to forget everything that you have to do and had to do the week prior, and so that's your way of coping. That's, I think, where a lot of it stems from.
Which is just so toxic. Like,
it's very toxic.
One thing I've learned from college is you need to be able to say no. And one of my advisors told me this freshman year, and I was like, okay, whatever. I can handle anything. Psh, I'm fucking invincible.
Yeah.
Wrong, bitch. Say no to some things that don't serve you and that like make you so stressed out. Like, if it's a class, say no to it. If you are getting blackout drunk every weekend because of one class, the class is not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not worth your sanity and your physical and mental health.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I think, too, part of the reason maybe as we get older, for me at least, that like the binge drinking and the need to feel like I need to party, and if I don't, I have FOMO and everything that goes with that. I think it's because we've learned healthier coping mechanisms as the years have gone by, and we've done a lot of personal like self-discovery and trying to figure out, okay, this is definitely not working for me, so what are some healthier options? Like, why don't I go to therapy? Why don't I
go for a run?
Why don't I take a nap? I mean, literally anything. But I think a lot of people that maybe still participate in the binge drinking culture at an older age too, and it's starting to verge on alcoholism truly, is because they haven't found, you know, other ways to deal with it. And they don't want to find other ways to deal with it. And that's one thing I've learned too, is with people who are dependent upon alcohol, most of the time they're in so deep that the process of dismantling what they're doing and finding a better option is too much effort, so they just keep going with what they're doing,
which is sad.
It's very sad, but I think that can be said for any sort of addiction with any sort of substance.
Yeah, because if you look at like alcoholism in adults, it's the same thing, and like it's kind of like if adults haven't figured it out at that point, a way to cope, or maybe they've lost that, I guess like lost their energy to find other ways to cope with like stress and stuff, so they turn to alcohol. Like when you're in college and you're 18 and stuff like that, like I feel like a lot of people, almost every college student goes through that phase, but then they kind of get over it as like college goes on and time goes on. But adults who still can't like figure that out, like that's a very childish like way to cope with things, to turn to alcohol. Like you're acting like an 18-year-old who's like drinking for the first time and only knows drinking. And I think a lot of people also drink because everyone else drinks. Yeah. And for some people who, especially at the school, who have stayed like true to their word, how they're like, no, I'm not going to drink. Like, one, alcoholism might run through my family, so I don't want to, get involved with that. And people to this day who are seniors who have like stuck to their word with that throughout everything, just because how much drinking happens at the school, I applaud them so much. That is hard to do.
It's so hard to do.
Like that proves to me that they are happy and they're being fine authentic without drinking. Like they don't need it to be happy at all. It's insane.
And it's sad too, I think, for me, because I think looking back on the first few years of college, most of the drinking that I was doing was because everyone else around me was drinking. And of course, I mean, that's a very obvious statement while you're in college. And then you pair that with Greek life and you pair that with a small setting, which we're at a small school.
Not much to do.
There's not much else to do. And you pretty much know everyone or know of everyone. And so you just want to be included in that. And unfortunately in college, that is the method of inclusion most of the time. And I remember thinking to myself, again, in the first few years, oh, it's so weird that person doesn't drink. Like, what's wrong with them? Why are they so prude? Why are they so uptight? But now as I'm older and I realize that it didn't really serve me most of my years here, and it's like, it is super admirable, because that is incredibly difficult to do. And it's a sacrifice really in college. And so it is super admirable. But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, that makes all the sense in the world. I mean, and for me too, alcoholism runs in my family very heavily and traces back many, many, decades, generations. And so I think for part of the reason why I started slowing down with that was realizing that, I am prone to it more than the person next to me. Someone might be able to handle their alcohol way better than I am. And I don't think it's a coincidence that almost every single weekend I'm crying, I'm dealing with
if you drink.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with a mess that
it doesn't work for you.
It doesn't work for me. I can have a few and relax and hang out, but it does not work for me in that setting. And the sooner I started to accept that, I think the better I felt physically, but also about myself, and knew that what I was doing was the right choice for me. And you don't have to explain that to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about with Rumsha last night, after we recorded our podcast, and we were just talking about FOMO and kind of the ways that you retreat you ration out your energy basically. To certain things in your life. And if it like social media, if it doesn't serve you, you don't have to be a slave to it. No one's forcing you to, but it's hard to make that decision.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're surrounded by people who, are your friends and they're doing it. It's a hard line to draw.
It's funny that you said last night, because we've been cranking out these episodes.
Yeah.
So we're about to go on like winter break or whatever. And then we have, it's called J-term. So Meredith gets to go to Egypt, which is really cool.
Very excited.
And I get to do a personal trainer course on campus, which I'm super excited about. So I'm going to be certified in February.
She can train all you people.
Yeah, give me money.
Yeah.
Give me money to work out. So, hopefully that works out. But we love doing these. Like, this has been, like, the best week, because we've just done, like, episode after episode after episode and trying to get them done. No, but off of that, I think, like, I think I also want to make it clear that we're not judging anyone who's going through a phase where maybe they are blacking out all the time and like they're having fun with it. Like, that's cool. If you're having fun, have fun. Fuck it. You're in college, but just know that is not the only way to practice like self-care and relaxation and like fun. It's not the only way to have fun with your friends. And also we can talk about this because we've been there. We have been the freshmen who were drinking heavily every weekend, and like we were in Greek life and we wanted to be on the scene and with our friends, and everyone's just drinking heavily, so you do it too. Like, we've been in that position, but just like we're supposed to be a voice for you to just like kind of play devil's advocate, like give you, I don't know, another option if it's not serving you. If it's not, maybe you need to hear this, you know. Maybe you're like, oh shit, you're right, it's not serving me well.
I mean, I mean, you say, fuck it, have fun. I'm going to push back on that a little because I don't think that's, I don't know. I don't think that should be the way anyone should have fun. I mean, I understand shit happens. Like, if you black out, you black out, you know, fuck it because that happens. But don't just say like, I blacked out, fuck it, I'm going to do it again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you should ever go out with the intention of blacking out. If it happens, and again, it's probably happened to most people, and it's probably not been super intentional, but you just don't know your limits yet. I mean, it's dangerous. It's a drug like anything else. And yes, it's legalized, of course, for 21 and older, but like, I don't know. Like, it's so fucking scary. And you just have to be really careful.
That's what people like don't get is like, you could literally die. You could literally lose your life over like stupid amount of alcohol. And that's like, people don't think about that. Like, there are so many hospital trips.
Oh my God, I know.
From the school to like I'm not gonna say every weekend, but like every month I bet there's a hospital visit. Yeah. And it's mostly freshmen because they just don't know how to handle their liquor and they're just new to it and stuff like that. But I've heard some very scary, very serious stories. Yeah. Where like they almost lost their life over drinking. And to me, that's just like, that would be a terrible way to go.
Right. Well, terrible. And when you hear people that are blowing like a 0.28, a 0.3, a point, you know, it's
you can die at 0.35.
Insane. I was looking up like the statistics. I think it's like between a 0.3 and a 0.4 is like death for a lot of people. And so you can't mess around with that. And I think one of those, so I guess what I'm saying is if it happens once and you end up hospitalized or, you know, something happens, just don't let it happen again after that. But to say that you can't ever let that happen once, you know, is false because, again, I don't think most people that it happens to go out with the intention of blacking out. However, when it becomes a habit is when you really need to start looking at other resources, I think. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to sound judgy because... No, that's not what we're doing. Because I've been like the furthest, like my alcohol consumption, my habits are just... Well, both of us freshman year. We're not good. I'll just say it. We're terrible. I had really crazy stories from it that, I can look back 3 years from now and laugh. But in the moment... Probably you weren't happy. Yeah. Oh, I was miserable. Yeah, that's the thing. That's like when I was drinking my heaviest, probably like freshman, sophomore year, I was like not happy at all. I would dread going to classes. I would dread like waking up in the morning, doing weekday stuff because I was so busy and I was overcommitted. And I was just like, I just want to drink and just like, I don't know, like relax and stuff. And now there are so many other ways I can like get out of my mind and just, you know, be a different in a different mindset that's not stressful without drinking. And it's like opened my eyes to a lot. And I think also because this is called This Is Your 20s, like I always think about like when does this kind of like party phase end? Because we're almost second semester. We are second semester seniors. Yeah. That's fucking crazy. But like when does it, after college, is it like, are we done? Like, do we still go out because it gets a lot more expensive? Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. I see people also in like their late 20s, like still with the same behavior as when maybe they were 18. I'm like, I just couldn't be me. That couldn't be me. I've already learned so much and I'm 21. Yeah. And I just turned 21. Like. Right. Well, and I think too, so when you said putting yourself in a different mindset that doesn't involve alcohol, it's not an easy thing to do, and it, like anything else in your life, takes practice. And so when I think putting myself in a different mindset, I think of putting myself in a situation that allows me to truly relax and decompress in a healthy way. And not everyone has figured out what that is for them yet, but it got me to thinking about when Nicole Pence came and spoke to us like a month or so ago about, she was talking about specifically burnout. And I think you have to prioritize certain time chunks in your life, or you have to schedule it in almost, things that you can do for self-care that make sure that you never even reach a burnout mindset, which is so hard. Like,
oh yeah, because she was talking about in her 30s how like you burn out in your 30s and you have kids, so you're burnout, blah blah blah. Right. She's like, fuck that. And I was like, yes, so true. I'm never burning out. I'm gonna be fucking 77 and still going.
Yeah, seriously. But like you say, and we say that now. Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize.
We say that now I'm 22 and 21, but it is kind of like, well, once you're in the thick of it, I mean, that scares me, like that I'm just gonna, and we were talking about this with Jay the other day, where you're gonna be, all of a sudden you're 32 and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just living by someone else's clock, and I'm just going through the motions and waking up and doing the same thing day in and day out.
It's easy to turn to drinking then, because you're like, well, fuck it. I have money. I have a career. Yeah. I should be happy because I have all these things, and that's what determined my happiness when I was 21. If I have this, I'm going to be happy. Right. That's another thing too, like the whole idea, just like when I turn this age, I'll be happy. When I have kids, I'll be happy. That mindset of like win, win, win. Right. Then I'll be happy. Now? Why not now? Why aren't you doing things to work on your happiness right now and always be working on it? It's ever changing, like like faith and spirituality. We talked about the room shot. It's ever changing. You're always growing. You're always, learning more about yourself. And I mean, we're really not saying that drinking with friends is a terrible thing. It's not. It's fun.
No, you can have a drink. A really good thing. Yeah. I mean, like I've had moments where I've had the best nights of my life sitting in a room with 6 of my closest friends, drink, and we're just talking about life, and it's cool and it's chill, and no one's going nuts, and no one's having to clean up someone's puke and hold their hair while they're puking, and it's just, no one's a liability. You're just like, you're relaxing, you're talking with your friends. I think that those are some of the best nights I've had in college. Totally. And also some of the best nights I've had have been like, on an elevated surface going crazy dancing with my friends. But I remember those nights is the point.
Remember that one nightmare? It was like Halloween sophomore year, and me and Meredith were on an elevated surface, and we just toppled. I think I fell and I took her down with me, and we like ruined the whole DJ set. Like the party was on pause because
literally
we just
got silent.
We were just like, oh shit, and we left. We're like,
Rumsha got a video of us falling, like she was somehow underneath us, or
no, she was on the elevated surface.
She was on the elevated surface,
and we just go into the darkness. We
literally
just
like a dark abyss. We just. Literally, it was the funniest shit ever.
That was a good memory. But you're right, like we
remembered it. That's the thing.
And we, like Meredith and I, have stories of like freshman year. We're not gonna say any names, obviously, but like we would see girls just so unwell and have to be taken in an ambulance, like right in front of our eyes. Yeah, they couldn't form words. They just couldn't even keep their head up. I'm like, I don't even know if they're gonna survive, and that's so scary to see. And people that you care about, people that you love, and you're just like, why are you so unhappy with your life that you have to get to this point? Right. And I have a little brother who's going to college next year, and I want to tell him straight up, this is what's gonna happen, that you're gonna see some crazy shit. Don't ever feel the need that you have to try this, or you have to do things that just because other people are doing them. And don't ever feel the need that you have to drink as much as everyone else, like whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, don't feel like you have to like keep up with other people. I think that's a really dangerous thing too, is you see also sorry, my thoughts are all over the place, but like you see someone next to you who is chugging whatever and they're ripping shots, and you're like, I'm gonna I can do that too. It's like, that's not something that you should like compete. That's not like a good competition that you should be having.
Because one, guys and girls also have very different tolerances. And it doesn't matter. You could have a way different tolerance than the person next to you who's like ripping shots.
Right. And also, I think what was really difficult for me freshman year especially was the correlation between drinking and body image. So I feel like I gained a lot of weight from drinking, and then also just the drunk food that you eat when you're, you know, hammered, whatever. The whole cycle is just not a good cycle. And I gained a lot of weight freshman year. I was super, super, super insecure. And then that cycle leads more into like, oh, I'm more insecure, so I'm just going to drink to forget it. Like, I can literally remember saying out loud to my friend one day, I've had the worst fucking week of my life. I can't wait to forget the whole night. Like, that is so sad. That's so sad. But when you're in it, it feels like the right thing to do because everyone around you, it's an acceptable behavior.
That's how everyone copes with everything.
Right.
And it's not okay.
Yeah. And I think that when you start thinking about that, the biggest thing that you can do to start dismantling those behaviors is self-awareness. But self-awareness doesn't come to people at the same times. It's a total like personal journey that, you know, I don't know the events that necessarily led up to me realizing that I needed to get more help or that this, you know, I wasn't doing
didn't
well.
serve you well,
Yeah, you can't like really trace those individual moments back because you're just going through it when you're going through it. But I think the sooner you can get to that point where you realize this isn't serving me, this is really terrible for all aspects of my health, and then that's the moment where you just kind of have a personal epiphany most of the time and you're like, okay, well, I'm just not going to do this anymore and we're going to come up with different habits. But like, I think that's where we have to be careful with judging people who are still using those habits because they might have just not reached that point yet.
Right.
And they're running a different race where they're just behind maybe a few years on where we are. We are lucky enough to have figured that out sooner rather than later. So I think just being there for those people that are clearly struggling with that and being a support, but also holding them accountable at the same time.
Yeah. Maybe they just need someone to tell them. And maybe this is it. Yeah. Maybe this is like, you know, us telling you.
To tell them.
Because just like, I don't know. It can seem as like no one wants to admit that they have a problem with drinking. And that's what I've realized too. No one sees it as a problem.
Right.
Even though like it has costed people their lives and thousands of dollars for hospital trips. You know, an ambulance ride is $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Like, my parents would murder me. My life would be over if I spent that much on a night of drinking.
Right.
And it's expensive. Like, once you get 21 and you, like, go to the bars and you're, like, one drink is, like
$8.
$8. I'm like, I don't got that. Right. I don't know. I think our generation really struggles with that. And I think it's getting worse with the younger generation because also with like the whole vaping and juuling type of thing, like we have a very addictive culture in our generation. And I think it's scary and I think it's not talked about enough and people don't want to talk about it because it's just like we're young and fuck it. Like I said earlier, that's the mentality is fuck it. But it's really something to like look into, I think.
Absolutely. And when you say addictive, so for me personally, I have a very addictive personality. And my mom's,
do?
Yes. So my mom's side also has an addictive personality. We've all spoken about this at like family events. This is like an open conversation that we have.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, no, it's good because I think we're very self-aware. But I have an addictive personality when it comes to nearly everything. It doesn't have to be a drug or alcohol. It can be people. It can be cycles of toxicity. I mean, like literally anything. And so when I get attached to something or someone, it's really hard for me to let it go, even if it's not a good thing for me. Because I have like a huge fear of abandonment. And so I think all of that goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I think, again, but that comes down to self-awareness, which is extremely difficult to get to that point. And you have to be doing I think you really do have to be doing a lot of work with counseling and therapy and other forms of, meditation or whatever it may be to realize what you're natural traits and characteristics are. And
Yeah.
some people just aren't willing to do the work. And there's no judgment there. I think some people aren't willing to do the work, but also some people don't even know that they have to do work. That's the thing. If you're exposed to a certain way of doing things for long enough, then you're not going to know any different. It's like anything else. So it's definitely a personal journey. And so I think it's hard to point fingers and say, you have a problem. There's something wrong with you. Get your shit together. You know, and someone might not even put the two and two together the way you are as like a third party, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
But also when you talk about our culture, I think you have to look at drugs too. So
let's talk about
let's
drugs.
think about all the young rappers. I mean, Juice WRLD just died a couple of days ago. Mac Miller just recently died. Lil Peep died. I mean, who, like, you could go on and on. The list goes on. And clearly substance abuse, I think, is obviously a horrible thing, but it has also become so normalized in pop culture and music, and you know, the songs that people just listen to casually. And I think most people don't listen to them for like each lyric and like, yeah, like drugs. It's probably more just like, this is a bop, like I like this song, it has a good beat. But when you start looking into the nitty gritty of it, it's like, this is what it's promoting, and you also have to realize the material you're consuming every day that just makes those type of habits completely normalized. It commodifies them. It's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous.
Look at these rappers. Like, they're not happy. They have money. They have success. They have making music. Their life is my dream. Like, if I had their life, I think I would be the happiest person in the world, but yet they're just so addicted to these drugs because they're unhappy. And I'm like, what? Why is that not making sense to me? That doesn't, two and two, they don't go together.
Yeah.
And like, why are they dying? Because they're just like so miserable that they'd rather swallow all these pills, or they make rash decisions like Juice WRLD did and just take their life so easily when they're valued to so many people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it kills me. And I'm like, I know we could talk about like psychedelics and stuff, because I think it's very different than like other types of drugs. Some of the best people I know take psychedelics, and like they've learned a lot about themselves from it, and they are a different person. And actually, LSD saved, I'm not going to name who, but saved a very close family member of mine, saved their life. Like,
and
literally.
How?
Like, he saw things from LSD that changed his life, that saved his life when he was suicidal.
Wow.
So like, those, I don't believe that those are bad things, but it gets to a point when it's an addictive behavior behind what you're taking, and it gets to a point where it's like, why are you taking them? Are you taking them because you need a come to Jesus moment, or because you're so miserable and you just want to forget and you just want to feel things like what's the one that brings you down really low? Like, it's like
After you take it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think all
There's
of
a lot.
them
There's a
mostly
lot.
do. The come down's terrible.
Yeah. But the one where you're just like a zombie, to me, I'm like,
Adderall?
no, Adderall's like, Adderall's like the study drug. I'm
Well,
talking
it's a
about
study
like
drug, but like
lean or I can't think of it right now. But it's just like, I don't know why anyone would want to be a zombie and want to be like that
and not feel anything.
and not feel anything and not remember anything.
I mean, I think that's obviously very telling of what you're trying to escape from. But again, it's more convenient than putting in the work.
Yeah.
But also, it's that's really easy for me to say. You know, like that's super easy for me to like point my finger and be like, that's what's going on. It's not a black and white issue. It never is. There's so much nuance to it, and I think.
I know.
Oh, let's talk about hazing while we're at it too.
Like with drinking?
Yeah.
Or anything? Okay. We personally have not experienced any hazing, which
we
we're
have
lucky.
not.
But
Thank
I know
God.
some sororities at bigger schools
Definitely
do some fucked up
a lot of
shit
that
with
stuff.
like weight and like body image and how girls
I
look.
remember what I was gonna say.
What?
I was gonna say that the reason it's not black and white is because if you look at all of this, everything goes hand in hand. So mental health goes hand in hand with substance abuse and drug abuse, which goes hand in hand with family patterns and toxic cycles that you're trapped in, which goes hand in hand with your viewpoint on the world and your faith and your spirituality, which goes hand in hand with your career path. And it literally, every single thing is interconnected.
Yeah. I think everything we talk about in this show is interconnected.
Which is very eye-opening and very cool, but at the same time, I think quite daunting, because you're trying to maybe tackle one problem in your life, and then you're like, well, wait, what about all this other stuff that is like going to also need to be touched and fixed in order to fix this one thing? It's scary. And so I totally understand why people are like, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to drink, because I can't deal with all of this.
It's hard.
It's so hard. It's emotionally and physically draining. And if you don't have the capacity to do it, then of course you're going to take the easier way out. Who wouldn't? Yeah. I mean, that's human nature. I can only imagine people that are really, really, really struggling, just to get through the day. Like it makes total sense. And I think the saddest part is, that the people are doing those things just because they want to be happy. You know that, like,
everyone wants to be happy.
Everyone wants the same thing. People are people. And so that the person who's taking drugs and who's addicted and who's selling themselves to get money to buy drugs, literally is just doing that to survive and to be happy.
Yeah. Have that moment of happiness.
One moment of happiness, one moment of feeling is enough to keep you alive. Just like you said, the person who's taking drugs not to feel anything because they're feeling too much. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. It's terrible and it's sad, but it's all very human. I think.
You just gotta, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, ooh, like, this kind of sounds like me, don't be hard on yourself. Just have
grace with yourself.
Yeah, have patience with yourself, because it's like Mer said, it's so hard to figure out what is a good coping mechanism for you other than drugs and alcohol.
Right.
Like, and because it's so normalized to be so addicted and to be, like, introduced to these drugs at alcohol at a young age. Yeah. Just, like, take time with yourself, but also take action and figure out what else works for you other than those substances, because that's the one thing you have control of, is making a decision of, okay, maybe I can't, like, completely cut out these habits that I've been practicing the past couple years, but maybe I do less, or maybe I try something new, like meditation, which has saved people's lives too. And meditation is literally the healthiest way you can deal with stress and anxiety, and like yoga and stuff like that. And it sounds cliche, but that stuff does work. Right. And it has the same effect as like, I don't know, maybe what these drugs are making you feel like. Like, you'd be amazed if you just try it.
Yeah. Well, and it's so hard too, because and for me especially, and I know the same thing for you, figuring out what works for you is such a trial and error process.
Yes.
And it's a lot of failure, and it's not like, oh, you just find something and you stick to it and it's perfect and there you go.
You're
like,
happy.
It takes so much practice, just like anything, any sport you would practice for, or music you would like it's a daily practice, and it's so hard sometimes to make the decision to do what's right for you, what you know is right for you long term, and not to take the easier way out. So it makes total sense, and so much of it comes from just this desire to change. And I'm a firm believer that people most of the time will have some sort of come to Jesus moment in their own time that will make them realize that this is not working for me. But you can't, as a loved one of that person, you can't force them to do anything that they don't want to do.
That they're not going to do,
until they reach the day where they have that moment for themselves. All you can do is stand by and support and love and offer compassion and empathy and alternative methods. And it's a terrible thing to watch a loved one go through. It really is.
I'm kind of really grateful that we talked about this last time, that I grew up in the Mormon church, because I grew up with a community who didn't have any substance abuse. No one in the Mormon church drank or did any type of drugs or anything, and they were so happy because they knew they were forced to not try those, to even see those as a coping mechanism at all. So they found new ones.
It wasn't even an option.
It wasn't even an option. so when I came to college, I was like, okay, like, am I going to drink? Like, I wasn't scared of it. I was a little scared of it, but I was like, I have learned my whole life that this is bad, that this is like addictive behavior, and addictive behavior is bad. Like, Mormons can't even drink coffee and tea because it's addictive. Yeah. They're against anything addictive. And I understand that now. And I respect it because the whole world drinks. And to be like the one community and one group that doesn't, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
But they're some of the happiest people because maybe they're naive, which I think they are to the real world. They're in the bubble, but they're also not exposed to like how toxic drugs and alcohol can be, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. I think on the flip side of that too, though, obviously Mormon culture is a unique community that you have. So I think that can be said too, when you have a community of support.
Yeah. Surround yourself with people who want to be eternally happy and are not doing it in an unhealthy way. Right. Like blacking out every day.
But I think too about the people who, so I've had so many friends in high school and college who have had very, very strict parents, and in every effort to rebel against their strictness, they just went batshit crazy. You know, they went from nothing to the complete other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, pretty dangerous too when you're in that territory and you don't have a community. So it sounds like although Mormons have been, you know, are restricted in that sense, they're surrounded by lots of people who are going through the same thing, so they can turn to each other with those struggles and with those thoughts. And so that's such a blessing. But I think when you are maybe feeling isolated or you don't have that community of support and you decide, fuck this, I'm going to go against everything that I grew up with and I'm going to try this for myself because I'm an individual and I'm going to experience the real world, and totally understand that mindset, of course. That's the mindset of so many young people. But if you don't have a community of support to fall back on, then I could see how that could become a really, really dangerous cycle. And I think I've seen so many of my friends in high school and college become these wildly different versions of who they were in high school, which of course is natural. Of course you're supposed to change, but in a way that's like, it's just everything that they do is an act of rebellion. And it's sad because it's like, I think a lot of people can kind of see through that facade, be like, this isn't you. Like, I know you and I know your character. And of course, I'm not saying you can't evolve and you can't change. Like, I hate when people are like, oh, you're different. You've changed. Like, okay, good. Like, yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
But I hope that the change is, you know, obviously a healthy change. And so when you see that happen, I think you have to also look at the parenting. And that's why I'm super grateful for the way that I was raised, in terms of the leniency that I was given. It was just a really good balance of, you definitely can't do this, but yeah, you can do this, and I trust you, and I'm putting that trust in you to make the right decisions.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it stems back to the way you were raised too. I mean, again, there's so many confounding variables for this, and so it would be unfair to say that this is how it is and this is how you works fix it
for everyone. Right. There's no real answer for it.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that is not talked about enough. Like all of what we're talking about is not talked about enough. Like, I genuinely, unless like we're forced to go to like a drinking meeting and stuff like that, or like campus event that's like about drinking culture, like it's not talked about enough in social settings with just your friends. And I think it should be. I think it should be normalized to talk about this kind of stuff, because it could open someone's eyes to like what's actually going on in their life and how they're actually coping with things in a very unhealthy way.
Yeah. And I think it's so important too, if you are living in a community of close quarters with people. So like, we live in a sorority house. And so I think it's super important when you see your friends going through like that, stuff like that, to pull them aside in a gentle way. There's no reason to call them out, because then it just backs them into a corner and it gets
still
ugly.
Unhealthy. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, like, go up to that person. If you see it and you're like, okay, this doesn't sit right with me, instead of being like everyone else and just being like, whatever, it is what it is, LOL, party culture.
Yep.
Go
She's
up
crazy.
to your friend. Right. It's her personality trait. Like,
Drinking is not a personality trait.
It's not a personality trait. It's not cute. It's not quirky. Like
to blackout.
Right.
It's not cute.
No.
Not cute at all.
Go up to your friend. I don't know. Text them. Say, hey, can I talk to you? Sit down with them and just explain to them from your point of view in a loving, caring, compassionate way.
Yes.
Hey, I've noticed this is going on. What's going on? Talk to me. You don't have to talk to me if you feel like it's too much. But like, I am here if you need someone. I have resources and access to people with resources.
Yeah.
Let them know. I mean, I think we don't do that enough. Everyone is so wrapped up in their own world in college, understandably, in their 20s when they're trying to figure everything out. Yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in your routine. But when you see that, I think it's so important to stop in that moment, stop what you're doing, and just like reach out to someone because you just do not know what is going on under the surface of that person's life.
And I know it's like totally like the uncool thing to do that. And even maybe not like talk with them one-on-one, but talk with like a group of friends being like, hey, like I noticed, we're all getting really like drunk all the time and getting blacked out, and like why? Just like say it.
Is everyone going?
Why?
Yeah.
Everyone good. If everyone's good and this works for you right now, cool. But also, I care about you, and I don't want this to be the only coping mechanism for your happiness.
Yeah.
Love you. Bye.
Right.
XOXO.
Right.
Elyse.
And I think too, but if you come from a place of non-judgment and hey, I've been there before too.
Love.
And just come from a place of love. I don't think that you can go wrong. Even if the person is like, no, I'm good, I'm fine, I don't need your help. Even that first interaction has primed them to the idea that this person is here for me.
Yeah.
And so if I do get to a point where I'm like, oh, I definitely can't do this by myself anymore, I know in the back of my mind that this person has made it clear that they care.
Yeah. And they're going to be defensive at first because to them it might be...
It's a sensitive topic.
Yeah, it's a sensitive topic, and they probably haven't thought twice about it, to be honest. Then they see it as like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Like, why this isn't wrong. This is what everyone does, blah, blah, blah. But they will get to a day where they're going to wake up hungover as shit and be like, why? I didn't even have fun. Yeah. Why am I doing this? Yeah. It's like, that happened to me. I just like, I think it was sophomore year. I just woke up and I was like, why did I do that? That was not fun. Like, I'm over it. Yeah. I just don't want to be like that anymore. Right.
And I love this quote. I was thinking about, I heard someone else say this. They were saying that when they went to therapy, their therapist said this, that if it's historical, it's hysterical. Meaning, if the way someone reacts to something is with hysteria and defensiveness and, my fists up and I'm fighting back, it's probably something that has struck a chord with them in the past, and it's probably something that they might be dealing with now. Yeah. So anything that comes with some backlash and some denial or whatever is probably something that they're directly feeling at that moment or have felt very deeply. So if you go up to someone who, they might not even think about it, they might not even realize that it's an issue, like Elyse just said, but if they're also like, I feel like there's kind of two ways to look at it. They're either, don't realize at all, or they know this is like, I'm struggling with this. This sucks.
Call for help. Yeah.
It is a call for help, but they're just maybe not ready to fully step into that moment yet. And so I think just be aware that if someone reacts to you in that way, it's definitely not you. No, it's not you. Right. It's just the way that they know how to cope with things. And everyone's coping mechanisms and reactions to things are wildly different. Yeah. You can't control that. You cannot take that personally either. Yeah. And that shouldn't stop you from reaching out to people.
Them enough to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, we didn't know where this would go, but it went somewhere.
It definitely did.
It went places.
I liked that. That was good.
It was a good debrief, I think, because it's not talked about. I don't think I've ever sat down and talked about this with someone my entire 4 years.
No, and you think that we would. I mean, you really do.
Because it's such a big part of the life here. And I know a group of students who, like, don't drink at all, and they kind of have a really negative, I guess, viewpoint on students who do drink, which is, like, 90% of the campus. So they just kind of have their own group and they're like, fuck everyone else, which I don't think that's attitude is cool. But I noticed that they just like are very against drinking, and they just, they don't drink at all, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, there's like a group of students who have fun without any substance abuse at all. And I saw that, like, I think junior year is when I kind of realized that it was a group on campus, and I'm like, yeah, you can have fun and you can be happy without this stuff. This is not the key to happiness by any means.
Definitely not. And I think, like we talked about in lots of things, you start building those habits now.
Yeah.
And so the joke that you're not an alcoholic until you leave college, like, that's not really something I think that you should be like, LOL.
Yeah, call people out. Next time they say, like, let's get blacked out this weekend, or I got so blacked out, kind of be like, it's not really funny to me.
Yeah.
Because it's not a funny thing.
Yeah.
It's not cute.
Just look out. I guess the moral of this is look out for your friends. Understand that most of substance abuse comes with a lot of other baggage.
Pain
and it's
wanting to be happy.
Yeah. And just wanting to feel things or wanting not to feel things. I mean, it all comes from like the human experience. So I think whatever interaction you have with people that are going through something like this, come with empathy and love and compassion.
You can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it might not go how you envision it, but you place the idea in someone's head that they have someone to turn to, and then you can't go wrong. I mean, you really can't.
Yeah.
So
I think our tagline is like perfect for this episode.
What?
Like, you may not have your shit figured out.
Oh yeah.
Literally
That's
perfect.
okay.
All right, you ready? You may not have your shit figured out,
but that's okay.
This is your 20s. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Yes,
this was kind of a obscure topic, but I think it went well.
Yeah, I liked this conversation.
And we'll see you next week.
Yes.